Tim,
We got a
heard it.
100-gallon tank.
Pull that flag out this way.
Six o'clock, I will call this meeting to order, and I will request anyone that has a phone or a communication device to either turn it off or put it on silent. There is a binder labeled Public Copy of Board Materials that is available at the front of the auditorium. Meeting agendas are also available, and people watching this may access school board agendas by visiting rrps.org, District Information, School Board, and Board Book. At this time, I will invite members of our audience and members of the board to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I will conduct roll call. Director Lotiger. Here. Director Yuhan.
Here.
Director Reardon.
Here.
Director Addy.
Here.
Director Sorkin.
Yes.
Director Schoberg.
Here.
Director Anderson.
Here.
And Director Tamaro.
Here.
Director Sundquist is all here. We have a full board tonight. At this time, I would ask for a motion to accept or amend the agenda.
I would like to make a motion to amend the
How
agenda.
about visit recognition of visitors?
That's next.
Oh, okay.
We're doing the agenda first.
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include a discussion on committee updates.
Do you want to do that tonight, or can we do that at the next meeting?
I'd like to do it tonight if we can.
City
Is there
Just a-
support?
Just a brief discussion.
I'll
Not,
support.
what I'm looking for is, I just want to have a discussion about like negotiation updates. We've mentioned it before, and I just would like to reiterate that I think it's important that we have updates as a whole board regarding negotiations.
So there's a motion by Director Lotiger, support by Director Addy. Any additional discussion?
Where would that be on the agenda?
That, and that would be for a closed session possibly.
Yeah. I guess my thought
I'm
is
not-
that,
But I'm not looking for an update as to what's being discussed, just to have a discussion again about the importance and try and get closed negotiations meetings scheduled after one of our regular meetings so that all of us can get an update on negotiations in general.
and I think my thought would be that we could maybe have that on the agenda for next meeting, and then we can determine whether or not we want to go into a closed session to discuss that, or if we want to have it as part of the board. I just don't know if we're all prepared for that tonight. But that is just my thought. Any other discussion?
I'd like to add to the agenda a discussion and possible decision on valedictorian and salutatorian on both sides of the district for the high schools.
Let's do Director Lotiger's motion first, and then I think what I'm thinking as far as valedictorian and salutatorian, that maybe that we put on the agenda for our next meeting and not discuss it tonight.
Well, I've requested it to be on the agenda multiple times already, and it keeps being denied, so I thought I'd ask the full board if we could discuss it.
I've never received that request from you, but I will make note of it tonight, and we can put it on at another meeting.
Well, the thing is that it's very timely because you start counting grades, and we have it different on each side of the district.
I appreciate that, but I personally would like more information on how it's done and why it's being done the way it is, and I don't know that that's appropriate for tonight.
Well, I think it's appropriate, so if I don't get a second, I don't, but it would
Well,
be
so
very
let's-
simple. and
Let's
it's-
finish with Director Lotiger's motion first, and then we'll address yours.
I'm comfortable with having it being put on the next agenda as well. Discussion on, I guess, all committee updates, but especially the negotiations committee.
I do agree with that. So do you want to leave your motion on the floor, or do you want to withdraw it?
I will withdraw it as long as we have that on the next board
I will
meeting
withdraw my
agenda.
second.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion then to approve the agenda.
Support.
What about my motion?
Oh,
What
Okay,
about
so
my
you've got a
motion?
motion to add to the agenda tonight. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'd second that just for the purposes of discussion.
All right. So there's a motion to discuss valedictorian and salutatorian at the meeting tonight. Any further discussion on that?
And I'd just suggest we discuss that in 2 weeks, put it on the agenda.
Yeah, that might be fine, but,
I agree with that.
I-
So Director Sorkin, do you want to leave your motion, or do you want to withdraw it at this time to have it put on the next agenda?
I'll do the same as Brandy, as long as it gets on the next agenda.
Okay.
And not go into committee, because it's very simple. I don't think it needs a committee.
Thank you.
That's fair. All right, those have both been
Okay.
withdrawn. So Director Lotiger, then do you have your motion to approve the agenda?
Yep, as presented, correct.
second by
And
myself.
support by Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. There was some request for visitor input tonight, however, it did not relate to agenda items, so there is no visitor input tonight. As far as consent agenda, there is a clerical correction to 4.3 that Crystal Scuffey was the elementary site team avid leader. The agenda says 2021, 2022. It should be 2020 to 2021. And with that correction of the clerical, I would entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented or amended.
I will move to accept it as amended, or with the correction.
Motion by Director Addy. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Director Lotiger. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion carries 8-1. And at this time, I'm going to, I know we have some gentlemen here from the VFW. It would be agenda item 7.1. I'm going to move them up in front of the quarterly presentations. And at this time, Mr. Speltz, could you introduce our guests? Oh, hey,
Hey.
Mike, or that mic in the,
The guest mic, is
Yes.
it on?
oh,
Come on.
Willie, can you bring them up on stage?
Come on upstairs.
Okay, they're coming up.
Check 1, 2. All right. Hello, Rockridge School Board. I appreciate this opportunity tonight to share this great donation from the Virginia VFW Post 1113. As you all may remember from my principal days at Roosevelt Elementary School, Veterans Day was our biggest program of the year. Honoring veterans was very important to me and to Roosevelt Elementary School. Each year, Dr. Jason prioritized the students and staff at Roosevelt and brought the full color guard to our Roosevelt Veterans Day program, and it meant the world to us. A packed gymnasium was fortunate to meet these great veterans each year. I am lucky to be joined by Father Pete Lambert, commander of the Virginia VFW Post 1113. Father Pete was a major and chaplain in the U.S. Air Force for over 20 years. He is a retired Catholic priest and was all over the world in his duties. You may recognize Father Pete's name as he has so kindly given to our Rock Ridge Rising campaign in honor of Mr. Dallas Franson. I also want to introduce you to Dr. Cam Jason, Adjutant Quartermaster in the Virginia VFW Post 1113. Dr. Jason was a major in the Army Medical Corps for 7 years and is a retired family dentist and college teacher for undergraduate and graduate students at the College of St. Scholastica. Dr. Jason has so kindly coordinated the giving in honor of Mr. Bill Lovato. That will be coming across your desks in a future meeting. Both are proud Virginia High School graduates. The Virginia VFW is here tonight to donate $10,000 toward a flagpole dedication in honor of and memory of the Virginia VFW, all who served. Dr. Jason has a few words to say about the motivation behind this great dedication.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for putting us first on the agenda. Tonight is our meeting night as well, and we'll leave you early. So the reason that we donated this money is we wanted to make sure that the students are reminded that they have an unencumbered education through the sacrifice and service of veterans from many generations. Those of us in the VFW all have served in a foreign war, and so we know this very vividly. Tonight I'm pleased to announce that we're adding to our $10,000 donation another $5,000, and we have a check for it for you tonight. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for moving us up in the agenda.
Thank you so much. And before I ask for motion, I just wanted to thank the VFW for their generous donation. As Willie said, the Veterans Day program was always a huge success. The kids that have come through our schools have always been excited to have pictures of their family members who have served. And so what a wonderful tradition it will be for these kids to be able to have something to be proud of and to know that it came from men and women who fought for them to be able to have the freedoms that they have today. So I know I speak for all of us when I say really from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so very much for your generosity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I would ask for a motion to accept the generous donation from the VFW.
I'll move.
Support.
Motion from Director Addy, support by Director Tamero. Any discussion?
I'd just like to ask a question and make a comment. We have a school board policy to say the Pledge of Allegiance every day, and I would just like to know if we are following through with that in each of our buildings, each of our grade levels.
When I've been in the buildings, I've seen it.
And especially in light of this donation, I hope that we continue to adhere to that policy daily. Thank you.
And I heard a bunch of teachers up there say yes as well. Thank you.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Unanimous. All right, now we will get back to the agenda. Agenda item 5 is quarterly presentations, with our presenter being Kraus Anderson.
Okay to take these off? Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us again. This is our quarterly update for the contract, and we will go through it pretty rapidly, especially the elementary school, because the entire school board did do a tour there today. So thank you for showing up for that as well. I hope that was beneficial. So we do have the 4 projects. We have the high school, the elementary, which is the Laurentian Elementary, the North Star Elementary, as well as the structural demolition project. And this is the agenda we'll follow. The current project funding, that has been changing because of great success from Mr. Willie Speltz for bringing in a lot of fundraising throughout the last couple of months through the last quarter. And we will be doing a contract amendment for that as well to infuse those dollars into the project. And then the CM quarterly report for each of the 4 projects that I just talked about. So first of all, just the project funding. Approximately $1 million, a little over $1 million, has been added to the project as a part of the fundraising. So we'll be putting one more installment of that back into the project, just so the board understands there's been commitments for certain things that we have moved forward on, and then that funding is coming in to be aligned with that and to reimburse those costs that were initially paid for out of contingency, and it just keeps replenishing that as we go through the process here. So this is the overall budget status. We are about 48% complete on dollars spent to this point. And we have obviously the largest dollar amounts in the high school, but we have each, and it's in your packet, each of the projects here, dollars budgeted, dollars spent, and dollars remaining for each of those. So the contract amendment 2, I'm going to have Paul Knoll go through that a little bit. That is, all those dollars currently for the fundraising are going to the high school project, and Paul Knoll is the project manager for the high school.
Great, thank you, Patrick. Just adjust here. Okay, again, speaking for the record, Paul Knoll. Good evening, everyone here. Okay, so we'll go through contract amendment number 2. This is, like we described, and I'll breeze over a lot of the mechanics of it because we went through it in such detail during contract amendment number 1. These will now be performed on a quarterly basis just to make amendments to the contracts and to each project for transactions that have occurred within the last 90-day period. So again, you can think of it like an oil change to a car here. So the amount of this contract amendment number 2 is approximately $226,000. Like Patrick mentioned, a good chunk of that is from commitments of additional fundraising dollars. The other transactions occurred within the general conditions line, continuing to refine the budgets based upon projections on where the status of each building's current completion is, especially as we near the completion of some other projects as well. And then the CM fee just adjusts accordingly based upon the total value of the project. And it is impressive that the Rock Ridge projects are up to $190.5 million now. And like Patrick mentioned, everything has been allocated. There have been no changes this last period to the site services nor CM reimbursable side of things. Okay, this is just a reaffirmation of where the project started at $178.5 million. Again, this second amendment brings us up to $190.5 million. Okay, now this line item does appear, I believe, as line item number 5.6 or 5.7 on the agenda. So, Madam Chair, if appropriate to discuss and vote and consider now, we would ask that. Otherwise, we can wait until the end of the presentation to your discretion.
We can do it now.
Okay. So if anyone has any questions, we're happy to answer them. Otherwise, you can feel free to take it from there.
I have a question. So these amendments, how does that relate to the original, I don't know if it was the contract or the agreement of the construction management fee of 2% of the total project?
Yes, the 2% is a continuous percentage, so as Paul had mentioned, as the dollar amount of the projects goes up, then that 2% is added on as well.
So it's not based on the total bond referendum amount of $178 million?
No, the fee is for the cost of the work. So if the cost of the work goes up, then that 2% gets added on to that cost of the work.
Okay, so it's not based on the referendum dollar amount, it's based on the end cost, and that could be higher or lower.
I would say it is based on the referendum because this is the revised referendum amount, but I believe you're describing it correctly because it is the end cost of the work that's put in place, correct?
Okay, and then I had asked you today, Pat, and I don't know if we were meeting of the minds about the other reimbursables to Kraus Anderson for things not included as costs, like expenses and things like that. is that a separate line item? I think I saw it as a separate line item on one of these documents.
So there
So that-
are,
that
yeah, I
would-
gave you our latest schedule of values. I just got that text today, so I got you those hard copies as well as on your email. This is the breakout basically of that. You have general conditions, which I think we talked a little bit before what those are. Are you clear on those, or would you like to ask any questions about what general conditions are?
No, maybe it's number 3, the reimbursable expenses that are above and beyond
Mm-hmm.
the CM fees.
Okay, and the reimbursables are listed out in the contract, what those are, and they are on those billings that I gave you copies of. And if you have any questions on those, we can meet after as well. I know you haven't had a lot of chance to review
No.
those because I just handed those to you
Right.
within an hour ago.
And I think it would be of the interest to the whole board is to have running totals of those, maybe in your quarterly or your monthly statements.
Yes, we have the full backup in the report itself that lists those out. I believe that would all be.
It would be shown on each of our pay applications that
Yeah.
we go through with the business management office each month. Don't know if they explicitly appear as a discrete value.
And I gave you each of the last billings that we had. So you have those in front of you. That's schedule of values. Do you see how they're split up like this on the billings? General conditions, site services, reimbursables, and fees?
I think I'm feeling a little lost here because it sounds like Director Sorkin has been contacting you directly, Pat. I have no idea what she's referring to, what she's looking at, or what the basis of these questions are, and I don't know if anybody else on the board is kind of at the same place. I feel like this is maybe a conversation that should occur further, maybe between Pat and Director Sorkin, but it's not really related to the contract amendment that we're voting on right now.
It's directly related to the contract amendment, and we got this thrown at us on Friday, and there's so much here and so much to understand. There's a lot that I bet every board member doesn't understand, and I'm just trying to get some figures straight in my head and for the public and for all of us. And I want to know, that I would like to know, and I think we all should want to know the running totals of all of these expenses. And I'm trying to extrapolate them out and understand them. That's all I'm trying to do, and it's totally related to this.
Is there any other discussion?
I have a question as far as just kind of trying to reconcile the $226,000 change order when when the change of the scope of the project has only gone up by $500,000.
Yeah, the bulk of the value of this contract amendment comes to the general conditions lines for the Laurentian Elementary project. That's approximately 200 out of the 226,000. And like I mentioned earlier, the general conditions budget keeps getting refined as the project continues to near completion. So been reconciling that account. But
Thanks.
you're correct, only approximately 15,000 went to general conditions for the high school and about 10,000 to the fee. The large bulk of it was due to the Laurentian Elementary.
Thanks.
And just to be clear, the 2% fee does not go on soft cost items. So if it's something the school buys direct, that Kraus does not manage, we don't get the 2% fee on that. So that, when you look at the $1 million that's been infused into the project, you have to look to see if it went to soft costs or if it went to hard costs and then which project. And I feel free to go over that with you at any time. It's not a problem. Just to be clear, Madam Chair, I just received a text today about what this breakout of costs were, which we haven't changed this. This has been the same for every quarterly report. So I felt that you receiving that on Thursday wasn't something new. It's just updated numbers within that structure. But if you would like to go over it in a different format, we can do that too.
I think this works. I just
Yep.
wanted to make sure that we're on the same page here.
And all I provide the board member was the last two billings, which is public record.
Yep. Any other discussion?
I just have one more question. Stacy, is Matt's question relevant or irrelevant like mine was?
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Or wait, do we have a motion? Sorry, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by,
support.
motion by Director Yuhan, support by Director Reardon. Any discussion?
Are we skipping down to the other agenda item, or are we just sticking to the presentation at this point?
We're going to
We're gonna
go
find-
through them one
We
at a
skipped
time.
down,
We're
are
at
we skipping
5.7
down
right
to the approval of the
He had
amendment?
asked.
He
Yep,
has-
yep,
He had
5.7, yep.
Yeah, okay, I thought he had asked if you wanted to have discussion at this point in time, but now we're skipping down to 5.7 to
Well, he,
approve?
No,
he asked for approval at this time.
Okay,
Yes.
And I-
okay, that's what we're voting on.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Motion, support, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No,
Motion carries 8-1. So then we'll go back up to 5.2 and get the quarterly presentation on the Laurentian Elementary School.
Pete Avonen is the project manager for the elementary school, and he will go through this. Like I had said, we're going to go very rapidly through the photos because the entire board was on site today.
And it looks great, by the way.
Thanks. All right, quarterly report for Laurentian Elementary. Today is October 25th. Like Pat said, we'll get through this pretty quickly. Typical agenda, construction updates, safety budget schedule, a new item, punch list, to explain that a little bit to you guys, how that works. And then the quality is our pictures at the end, which we'll fly through pretty quick. And then any questions at the end. So on the safety side of things, still 0 injuries. We've had our OSHA consultations. We had number 4 this past month, October. And then we'll set up number 5 3 months later. We did have one COVID positive case on the site, which we followed all of the protocols, got him off the site, tested, everything is good, and he's back to work. Budget update, that's from the master budget. That's all in the quarterly report as well. We're essentially 90% spent on the project, which matches up with the schedule that you'll see shortly. Here's just a pie chart of what that looks like. 89% spent, 11% remaining, the total 33.8. Our contingency is 98% spent, so total is 1.8 million. 1.815 is spent, 32,000 remaining for the 2 months that we have, which that does match up with our schedule, 90% complete, 10% to go. As you guys saw on the site, we're getting very close to wrapping everything up, so. And 2 months to go. End of the year is the final completion date for all of our punch list completions. So building structure obviously complete. Our building envelope will be complete at the end of this month, along with the site work. Our interior build-outs, metal studs, drywall, that's all complete now. And now we're into our interior finishes, which substantial completion will be mid-December. And our punch list will be taking place during that time and all completed by the end of the year. So we're getting close. It'll be a great New Year's party at the end. So some visuals just to kind of see how this works. So drywall on level 1 is complete all the way through all areas here. Drywall level 2, 100%. Paint. So we got different colors now. Level 1, 99% complete. As you saw, there's a few touch-up areas left on level 1. Same thing on level 2. We're working on the stairwells. So ceiling, 70% complete in level 1. 2 different patterns here. We got the hatch pattern with the color in. That means it's got the grid and the ceiling tiles. And then the grid only, to show that we've got grid in there, just not the tiles yet. No ceiling in the gym, and there's no actual drop ceiling in the heart, but there will be some sound baffles in there to take the acoustics out. Up on level 2, we got a lot of grid up, and we do have ceiling tiles bordered around the perimeter of each room and down the corridors. Casework in level 1 is about 95% complete. We just have some window sills and countertops to put in. Level 2 is about 90% complete. We do have some cubbies and casework to put in yet, plus some countertops and window sills. Flooring, level 1,
So this is the carpet and rubber floorings that you guys saw on your tour. The area B here, level 1, had your nurse's office with rubber, had carpet in the community room, our pre-K wing, and then our 3rd and 4th wing is actually further along than this picture right now. So, site work, as you guys saw on the tour today, 95% complete. We've essentially wrapped up everything around here and just working up at the north at the ball field, putting in our taconite trails and finishing up some grading and put final seating down. So, punch list. So as we come towards the end of a project, we do have to make sure that everything was done correctly and done up to quality standards. We don't want to hand over a building without going through it first. So pre-punch list. So the construction manager, KA, and the contractors go through a week before the official punch list walkthrough. And we make a pre-punch list for the contractors to go through, finish up some work, make some touch-ups. And then when our final punch list walkthrough comes through, that's the construction manager, KA, an owner representative, who's been Jeff Carey thus far, and then the design team joins. And then in certain cases, like mechanical, electrical punch lists and the building envelope, we'll have our third-party commissioning agents, Halbury Engineering and Intertech, come out during those punch lists as well. Then to confirm that the punch list is being completed in a timely manner and up to quality standards, the construction manager, KA, and the design team and our third-party commissioning agents go through that list, go through each room again, check things off the list, sign off, and hand over a beautiful building to you guys. Any questions on the punch list?
I do have a question. I talked to Noel about this, and
Can you
Talk into the
talk
mic.
into the
my question, did you ever open it to the public? I mean, we have several carpenters, plumbers, electricians, just to let them come in, walk through and look, see if there's anything you missed? Open it to the public, to all the contractors, see if they're interested.
We don't usually have the public involved in the punch list process. We have your facilities from the district, and we have representation from them and the design team, but we have not had the public involved in punch lists, no.
Well, it'd be like me walking through there to, picking and choosing things that I thought should be fixed that you feel are fine, but I'm not a plumber, I'm not a carpenter, but there are a lot of them out there that would like to look.
That's not a normal way to do a punch list for a school. We can discuss it with Dr. Schmidt on how you want to do that. We have principals and the advisory team involved in facilities, and usually that represents your school district, but we're open to what you want to do. I think it would take quite an education process for somebody coming in new to know what's in the plans and specifications to be able to really do the punch list, but pretty unusual. Have not done it before.
Well, I can tell you, you weren't involved in the Parkview at all, as far as the construction, but if you go in there and look at the windowsills, in new construction, you'd think every windowsill would be 6 inches thick or wide. Some of them are 4 inches, some are 5.5, some are 6 inches. There aren't any of them that are the same. I don't know how they installed the windows to make them different.
Probably the best thing to do is we'll do a one-on-one tour with you and we can go through those items. Does that work?
That'll work.
Okay. That sounds good.
Thanks, Pat.
You bet.
Tom, maybe your questions are irrelevant.
That's unnecessary, Director Sorkin.
Hey, Pat, do we know when we're going to be having it open for the public viewing, or when public's going to be invited to tour the building?
That's something we'll work out with the advisory team as we get closer. It's a good question. We usually do like a soft opening kind of thing where you'd have an open house. Be anytime after the new year. We can start planning that whenever you'd like, Dr. Schmidt. Yes, that'd be a good idea. And you'll have plenty of time. You've got from January to August to do that.
I just get people asking me when
Right.
when they're gonna have it open for a tour. Doesn't have to necessarily be completed, but just some sort of tour,
Yeah,
And
I'd like to do it sooner, but honestly, with the activity, you saw it after the workday was done up there, there's no room in there to start bringing the public in.
Yeah.
But definitely in January would be the soonest opportunity.
All right, very good.
Okay.
All right, so along with the punch list, to keep it all organized and be able to take little bites off this big monster of a project, we come up with a punch list schedule, which we go and break it out into each area and each system here, building, envelope, and roof, site, and each level of each wing. Kitchen and gym are separate, just so that we're not overwhelmed at the end trying to do the whole building at one time. So we go through each area, do a punch list, make the corrections, seal off that area. It's 100% complete to keep everyone out and move on to the next. So this is just a pictorial of how we move through the building. Again, we do internal pre-punches 1 week prior to the official punch list. And our building envelope and roof punch will be on November 1st. And going into the quality, as I said, I'm going to go through these pretty quick. So our overall site here from the site camera, got the new asphalt bituminous on and all the striping done. That's where the monument sign is now. Front of the building, gym here, front entrance, all of our landscaping's in. Main entry steps. Those will have handrails on them by the time we're done. Offices right here. Main entry. Another picture of the office. And alongside, not sure if you guys caught that, there is a boulder wall in front of the office. And then here's the trash enclosure. So your trash bins and electrical items are on the other side of this. So here's the office again. Trash enclosure moving around the side of the building. We did put a concrete flume in. So from this picture, you turn around and you see this. That's to alleviate erosion as the water runs off of the blacktop down into the pond. Coming up into the loading dock area right here, south side of the building. Swing set area over here, that's all fenced in now. So this is the rock retaining wall that we're standing on, and looking back at the building, we have our fence here to protect the kids from going over the edge of the boulder wall there. Our play surface here. Moving into the courtyard, the learning areas here. That's right when you walk out the doors from the playground area out into the courtyard. As you saw, we have actually sod there now during our tour. That's the north wing. Wrapping up some sidewalks. East end of the north wing. North side of the building, not sure if we caught that today, so this is the north playground for the older kids. And the hard surface with basketball hoops and foursquare and that kind of thing. Ball field backstop and the dugout slabs. Moving into the building, you come in the front entrance to the hard commons. Up from the bridge, looking back down at the entry. The community room. Another angle of the community room. Sensory room, we all remember that one. This is the Area B group bathrooms. Vestibule going out to the north play area, the south side of the gym. Our gymnasium, as you saw today, we have all the plywood down and wood flooring laid out, ready to go. Kitchen on the other side of the heart, on the south side. Saw a few of you walk through that in a little bit more detail. Our dish drop off here and wash station. Playground area underneath the bridge. Ties into the tree house up here. Looking out of the tree house, there'll be some glass there that you can look out onto the main entry. And And then everywhere you see that plywood, as I mentioned earlier, it's got wood paneling on it, and this is the wood panels that'll be up on the wall. So the tech makerspace area looking down into the heart. As you walk into the makerspace, and just standing in the back corner looking out to the heart. Behind that is the music room to the north. And we move down to the north wing. We have our art room and some classrooms with the sliding doors for partition with the frosted glass. A typical staff room overlooking the cubby areas. Area C, level 2, is the neighborhood commons right here in the corridor. Area D, level 1, the pre-KK, just a finished classroom here. We got all the flooring in, so we wanted to protect it while we're still working in there. There's some protection board here. Corridor down the, looking to the north. Area D, level 2, so from the neighborhood commons, looking into a classroom, and just another view of the commons area. And what we didn't see today, or some of us didn't see today, was the mechanical room, the generator, and then our hydronic pumps. That's all she wrote. Any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over.
Some spectacular views.
So the intent, I know there was a lot of photos, but part of the intent is what you were saying, a lot of the public is curious about what's going on. Feel free to put these on your website. We send these right over to Stacy, and she can hang those up. So maybe that'll satisfy some of the appetite to know what's going on up there. That might work out well. Okay, what do we have to do?
Okay, I had my speech down to 7 minutes in the mirror last night, so it should go very well. But we are
Should I
very
time you?
Yeah, there you go. We are very excited, though, to share the fantastic progress on your beautiful flagship Academy High School building here. So I'm sure you had an opportunity as you were driving in through to the elementary school to look over to the left and see your beautiful building, how awesome the brick veneer looks, and how wonderful that approach is as you're coming up the street. So just a reminder to the group here is the athletics suite with the aquatics and gymnasiums. Got the Performing Arts Center and the music, woods and metals connected by the commons, your 2 learning neighborhoods, and then food service and mechanical. You can also see how great your parking lot area is. There's going to be 1 lot, 2 lots, 3 lots, and even a 4th lot. So you can have tons of parking too. You can even start to see the connection and context over to the athletic fields as well, and what that connection is like too. All right, here's an aerial shot looking from the east out towards Highway 53. Gives one more context photo of those athletic fields as well. You can really start to see the final defined shape of the building. So the superstructure has now all been erected, be finished with the envelope in the next 30 days or so, and we are in a great position to have just a year full of build out and bring the project home successfully. And then looking from the other side, again, like you had mentioned about the Laurentian Elementary project, just look at the context that your building actually sits in with the forests and with Mud Lake in the background there. It's really a spectacular site, like none other. And just like you have the most spectacular site, you also now have the most spectacular baseball, softball fields in the region as well. So we do have the turf fabric down on each of those 4 athletic fields at this point. You might be asking, all right, so we get to use the fields, right? As you can see, there are a lot of other site elements that do still need to be constructed. So we've got a bit more to go before those can get turned over. So still think when we get the building, we get the rest of the athletic fields, but we'll continue to chase it as a target of opportunity. Okay, just like the Laurentian project, we'll hit the big 4 metrics on the project, starting with safety first. Bottom line summary, almost 250,000 hours invested into the building's construction by your contractors. It's a really impressive number. You do have 150 workers on site each day, and about half of the companies that you've hired to build the project are active on the job site each and every day. Most impressively as well, your workers have continued the theme of no injuries and no OSHA citations. And the program of inviting Minnesota OSHA onto the job site has continued to be very successfully implemented. And as of the September 30th timeframe, we did not have any additional COVID cases either. We had one reported today, but like Pete mentioned, we are dealing with it, just like all the various regulations are requiring. All right, on the budget side of things, just highlighted the line that showed fundraising commitments. That's really where most of the transactions to the project's funding are occurring now. And that number will continue to go up, most likely, as additional fundraising revenue gets allocated to each one of the projects. There is still a long wish list on the Rockridge High School project from the original value management exercises at the beginning. So there's no shortage of places to be able to allocate those to continue to bring value into the high school project. All right, that's just the overall shot of this project's budget for record at this point in time. All right, and right down the middle, you are exactly 50% spent with the funds that you have available for this project. We'll get to the project schedule slide in just a second, but you'll see that you're also 50% complete with the project. So you are spent exactly to where you would need to be and to what we would expect to see your project expenditures at. Right, here's the project's contingency. Like Patrick mentioned, as fundraising money continues to be infused to pay for expenditures out of contingency, and we use this as one big transaction pot, and that will be the process that will continue to actually replenish this green piece of the triangle that's looking a little bit small there right now. Okay, and on the project timeline, like I mentioned, you are now sitting at exactly 50% complete at this point in time. The big picture on the schedule, we will have the building's envelope and enclosure ready for winter this year. It's a big thing, of course, getting ready for the snow and getting temporary heat set up. We have a lot of building to do on the inside of the building. We'll have from about December of 2021 to December of 2022 to finish the interior construction, and then it'll get turned over to the district and the project will be completed. And so you are sitting exactly where you need to be on the project schedule, and you benefited immensely from the weather that we had all summer long, especially as it pertained to building the superstructure, completing insulation and roofing and site work. It was immense benefit to have the drought that we did have. All right, on the quality side of things, our most exciting thing that has occurred over the last 90-day period is where your students are actually able to be involved in the construction projects on site now. So as of September 13th, your first construction project also began on the job site. Again, your students are slated to build over a dozen buildings on the job site, and the first one is going incredibly well. I have some pictures of that in just a second. Just a reminder that we're splitting the embracing of the Career Academy model and really engaging students in two different distinct ways. The first one is for students who are really interested in construction already. They have the opportunity through these various construction projects to get engaged. The second opportunity is for the students who might not know a lot about construction. That's more about awareness and sharing what the different exciting careers, opportunities, mentorship, field trips, site tours, things to get students interested in the building process. So those are the two different sides of that coin there. All right, so everything that you see here in this photo for this storage building was constructed by your students. All we did was provide one little course of masonry at the bottom as well as a foundation, and then we let the building construction class, led by the very capable Mr. Greg Foster, who's doing an amazing job with the students, loose, and you can see the great progress that they've made. They'll be finished up with this building within the next 2 or so weeks, and, well, more like a Thanksgiving timeframe. And then in the springtime, the students will be starting with another construction project, doing some dugouts for the varsity fields as one of the next projects.
Cool.
And the coexistence on the site between contractors and the students. You have your own fenced-off, very safe area. The logistics were very carefully planned, and it's being implemented very successfully. Very happy. Oh, yeah, so the various field leaders from the KA side of things and our safety department did a lot of different orientations with the students as well. We treat them just like the 71st contractor on the project, and so we hold them to the same standards that we would any other professional contractor that the district has provided to the job site. So our field leaders, I think, have done a great job integrating them into the project site and making sure that they're able to perform their work safely. Okay, and then again on that other side of the coin, on the mentorship side of things, we as in the KA side of things, as well as your contractors, have invested 47 hours so far in on-site educating with the students. Sometimes it's a 2 or 3 hour field trip to the job site where you provide us with a busload of students and we spend the next 3 hours working with them. Most recent visit was from your welding class, actually. We brought in your union iron worker, Northern Industrial Erectors. We had their project manager and their on-site foreman and their workers get together with the students, and we got them paired up so that they could ask any questions that they might need to. And that's just one example, and 3 out of those 47 hours that have been utilized so far. So that process is also going really well. Okay, and just to aid in some visualizing, I like to do these rendering comparisons of where we will be in a year versus where we are today. This is your amazing main entry. Can't wait for the springtime of next year when we get to do all this landscaping around the front of the building. Really make it look amazing. Here's your interior commons, your gorgeous heavy timber structure. Here is the downstairs presentation plaza. Really excited to see this wood curtain wall start to go in within the next 2 months. Here is the level 1 of your North Learning neighborhood. And as you exist within this space, you really get that connection to nature as well. And I can't wait sometime, maybe in the next quarter, to have the school board also come out to the building and get to see the progress, because I think you'll find that it has changed immensely and it will continue to change immensely and get better and better. Right, here's a shot of that exterior learning courtyard. I'm going to start on those metal panels actually here within the next 2 weeks. Right, shot of your Performing Arts Center. And your athletic commons. The pool is under construction right now. It's not quite diving ready, but we're getting close. All right, and here's a rendering shot too of your main gym configuration in arena mode, that awesome Jumbotron video board in the background there, and how nice it's going to be at that Friday night section Wolverines basketball game. All right, and then some more individual progress photos inside of your automotive lab, and you'll have that drive-in capability with the auto post lifts. Here's inside of the Woods lab area, just doing some underground mechanical work right now. Your beautiful bridge crane has been installed, so that'll be exciting for you to see. All right, we're actually got the final coats of paint inside of the music suite area. I've beat this drum before, but you'll see some spaces that are very far along because that was the start. And by the time you get to the end of the snake, you might be working on structure work. So we have different phases in different parts of the building, which means we'll have a nice sequential flow throughout the build-out process. And you are going to have so much space for parking lots. It's going to be great. All right, here's a progress photo of the pool well being dug right now. Maybe stick to cannonballs. And here is a progress photo of the stadium. And of course, your top-of-the-line, just as nice as US Bank Stadium down in Minneapolis, synthetic turf field systems. They are incredibly impressive to see the different backdrop on each unique field. Each one really has its own personality, and each one is as amazing as the next. So I think this is one of our nicest pictures on the project so far, and it's all yours. Okay, so with that, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Any questions on the Rockridge High School project?
I love your pictures.
Thank you.
Something Kraus Anderson should do is, they should make a book of every project as they build it. Noel has a book that was donated. Was that the Roosevelt or was it the Tech building, Noel?
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, when it was built 100 years ago. It's really nice to look back and see what they had to do back then with so little.
Absolutely, and these quarterly presentations help build that memorialization, as do many other presentations that we give to the district. So Rockridge would certainly be on the cover of that book if we were to make it. So, all right, any other questions?
It's nice to see the students are already starting and,
Yes.
and doing things.
It's going
Exposure
to
is
be well.
key, and so I'm happy for the students.
Thanks.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, it's me again, Pete. Oh, let me put this down. I'm not that tall. Okay, so we're gonna hit the North Star Elementary. Not much has changed on this since our last quarterly report, so again, I'll try to get through this pretty quickly. Agenda, bidding update, schedule update, budget update, and then any questions you might have. So bidding, we made it through the pre-construction phase. We are now in the bid award phase, and the first part of that will be the Virginia demo portion that Pat will talk about a little bit. And then we will be bidding this project in the bidding phase here. Ad for bid in December, bidding in January, contracts in February, and get started as soon as we have materials on site. And that is the big part of why we are starting the bidding process so early, if you remember correctly, so that we can acquire our mechanical electrical units and get started on those right away, because we need that before we do any demolition, and then to start the actual building construction of North Star in September of '22. So again, contractor bidding in January, abatement and demo bidding of the Virginia schools in Roosevelt, which will be a phased demo, is in December. So that's coming up really quick. So we'll be coming back to you for approval of those bids in a short time. And then the Roosevelt abatement and demo work will be June and August this coming summer of 2022. And then the rest of that will be done in June and August of '23, the next summer after. As I mentioned, the construction will be September '22 through January of '24. Move in, that long move-in period that we talked about last time, February to August, almost 9 months there, and then start your new school year and your new facility in September of '24. Budget update. Not much changed here. We did spend some money, obviously, on the pre-construction phase, so that's about wrapped up now, moving into bidding. So our total budget spent and remaining. Obviously, no contingency has been spent, so we didn't start yet. That's all there is on the North Star. Any questions?
Nope.
All right.
Thank you.
The last of the four is the demolition. And I know that this isn't one of the real fancy projects, but it is important to have as we make sure we don't leave a lot of vacant buildings out there in the communities. So, where are we at on this hazardous materials and demo update? We'll give you a budget update and then some closing comments here. And then following this, we'll actually ask for approval on demolition of the manual arts. So, the Evelyn Junior High School, the old Evelyn Junior High School is now demolished. We completed all the site restoration, got the grass and the turf to come up quite well if you've been by the site. Pretty sellable site for the school district, and I know you're moving forward with plans on that. So that site came up quite well. That is the green site right there with the new apron, concrete apron. By the way, we did find out that the city is redoing this street next year, so just so you know. That might affect your busing a little bit there too for Evelith's bus drop-off. They'll have to be one block over.
Is
Just
that
found
Jackson
out
Street
the
or what
other day.
street?
What's that?
Is that Jackson Street?
This is the street that goes between Manual Arts and the junior high.
Oh, Roosevelt.
Okay, that one.
A couple other pictures. We were able to keep most of these trees. We weren't sure if we could or not as we took the building down, but we put it in the bid docs that way, and the contractor was able to do that, which just makes it a more pleasing site. The Manual Arts building, the abatement is completed. No demolition is started, awaiting your approval tonight. Just as a reminder, those bids do expire on 1 November. Not sure if the price would go up or not after 1 November. That's totally up to the contractor, and we could talk to them. But that's why we're going to be asking for your approval tonight. So the Evelyn campus, that's where your junior high was. This is your Manual Arts. Nothing really to update you there. These structures will all remain until the end when we actually move the final students from here to the new North Star Elementary. Virginia campus, the abatement and demo will be separate bid packages. From the North Star Elementary project, all the demo stays within this one project. And you basically have the abatement and the demo ad going out in November. We have the actual bid in December, and then we won't start that until school ends in June and you move out within a 2-week period, and then we do the abatement, and then we go right into the demolition, and then we'll go on to the construction on the other project that Pete already went over with you. Then we'll repeat that same phase a year later on the high school, after the students move into the new high school. That's the Virginia campus. I think you're pretty familiar with the fact that this is the one building that we're looking to take down. And this shows the line, the break line between the buildings, so the existing gym remains and the high school remains. On the Gilbert campus, Dr. Schmidt, I think there's an update you got from the city, is that correct?
Yeah, I will be getting it shortly.
Okay. We are looking at the Gilbert campus. At one time, we were thinking that maybe the city was going to want to purchase some or all of those buildings, and Dr. Schmidt will give you an update on that. Keep in mind that these buildings could come down in year 2022. After we open the elementary school, the Evelyn Gilbert Laurentian Elementary, the vast majority of these students move into that. The remainder moves into the Evelyn, and then these buildings could come down. So just a quick budget update. $7,450,000 is what we have in the demolition budget. We have spent 6%, $233,000, and we have $7,216,000 remaining. And the contingency spent very little, $5,798. You've seen this before. This is the breakout of each of the budgets, what we have budgeted, what we have spent to date, and what is remaining, and we'll keep that same format through all the quarterly reports. So any questions on the demolition project? And then we can go into just going through the bids for the manual arts and approval on that. Okay. Thank you, Paul. So this is the manual arts. I think everyone's pretty familiar with where it is. It is kind of a sloped site, both east and west, as well as north to south. So you'll see how we're going to leave that site after. A couple of things we're going to go over is where we are today on this project, do a bidding recap, the bid results, a quick little overview of what that scope was, and then a conclusion. And then any questions, and then ask for the board's approval. So we are in the bid award section. 2 bids were received. Rachel Contracting was the low bidder. They were the second bidder on the junior high, and they're the low bidder on this one at $198,760. Vite, which was the low bidder on the junior high, is now the second bidder on this one. They were at $284,499. So pretty close bids when you start to look at the amount of site restoration that's involved, as well as the complexity of how you can get rid of the debris and which landfills you go to. So,
Can I just interrupt for a second, Pat? When you say that's a close bid and I'm not familiar with construction, can you kind of explain? Because to me that looks like a big discrepancy, but I'm not familiar with.
Looks like one's about 48% higher, 45% higher than the other.
they can swing quite a bit depending on how they do the landfill and the salvage,
Okay.
as well as the site restoration. So when we talked to them and went through their scopes, we didn't see anything in there that was way out of line as far as between those.
Okay, thank you.
So out of the $7,500,000, manual arts is $198,760. That's 2.7% of the total demo budget. And this is a good breakout slide that shows that entire budget and how much we are looking to spend here on the demolition of the manual arts, 2.7. The abatement was 0.6%. The abatement package and the demolition of the junior high was 5.6%. So still a good percentage left for the Gilbert and Evelyn campuses, as well as the Virginia demolition. So what we are going for tonight is board approval, and then we would award the contract the next day. We would do a pre-construction meeting with the contractor on the 27th, and then look for demolition in November, December, before we get into the heart of winter and the cold temperatures. So the demolition building and the site restoration, just so you can, because this is off from this parking lot of the high school, it's been requested that we put Class 5 gravel on this site after, up to this point, which will expand the amount of parking that can be established in this area. Notice the blue arrows at an angle here would be the runoff of the water, and that's how we would leave the site. We would not touch this part of the site at all, including those trees that are right there. So, Madam Chair, we are wondering if you could ask for approval on the manual arts demolition project.
Is there?
I have some questions first.
Go ahead.
Where are we at with the State Preservation, Historic Preservation Office and that process and that procedure and those timelines?
I know that the State Preservation Office has responded back. Is this something you're going to update as well, Dr. Schmidt, or not?
I will do a quick update.
Okay. So we don't handle that part of the process. That's the only reason I'm looking at Dr. Schmidt on this one. But the last I knew, it was back into the city of Evelyn to make the determination on the demolition.
Yeah, I'd like to have a little more information on that discussion before we vote, because it has a direct relationship to awarding a demo bid or not awarding it at this time.
I would probably say to the board that our recommendation would be, if you do decide to accept the demo bid, that it is conditional upon us getting clearance from the state and everything getting cleared. So it is a conditional, that would be our recommendation, that if you do want to do this, pass it conditional, accept the demo bid, conditional that we get all of the approvals from the state.
Do we know if the contractor will accept that stipulation of contingent upon the SHPO office approval? It expires, it says on November 1st. their
Anything past
bid.
1 November, if they get delayed further, they would have the ability to ask for delay costs. That is something I can talk to them about, depending on what the outcome of this vote is tonight.
Don't you
And
think
if you want to make that contingent as well, in other words, 2 stipulations. One is when you get approval from the State Historical Preservation Office, and then confirmation that the bid price won't go up due to waiting for that approval. We could award it based on that.
I would think that we would need that before we vote with a stipulation and a contingency. I mean, it's putting the, cart before the horse in my mind.
Well, no, it's the other way around, because you have to tell us if you want to demolish the building, then we can go to the contractor and say the board has approved your price, and you are awarded as the contractor. Now, given that, there may be some more delay here on the state approval because it's contingent on that. Will you be raising your price, Mr. Contractor? And, but I can't ask that question until I know if you want to approve the demolition of the building and acceptance of this price.
And again, I disagree, but can I just have one more question first, just to follow up? Is this building still on the MLS, or is it listed with our Realtor or not?
Do not know that.
It was.
And have we ended that contract? Did we go to term, or was it ended early?
There was a link. It is over. We have, the board at various times has considered offers for this building. The board has repeatedly declined to sell the building to individuals, and so that's why it seems very apparent to us that the board appears to be asking and looking for the building to be demolished. So that's why we are here with it. You do not have another viable offer. We've shown you the offers, and you as board has determined that there are no viable offers for that building. That's why we are here tonight, asking what do you want to do on the next step.
I kind of disagree. I think there's still an offer on the table that the board has not officially considered. There was one that came in after multiple ones, and we have not either accepted or formally rejected that offer. And that's one question, but the other question goes back to, did we run our full commitment? I don't know, what did we have it listed for a year with the Zupansich Realty? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, did we run the full length of that contract, or did we break it early?
You have an agreement that whether it's sold or not, you're going to pay this real estate agent X number of dollars. It doesn't matter whether that person sells the building or you stop it early, that person is going to get paid one way or the other.
And is that $9,000 figure? I understand that was because we wanted to end it early.
That was the original agreement that was signed with that real estate agent.
And that's $9,000?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Matt, did you have some questions?
Yeah, I just, to kind of follow up on Paulie's initial question as far as, I think we saw the same presentation, we looked at the same bids back in July, and the will of the board at that time was to get things resolved between the city and the Historic Society. And I guess I'd need a comfort level with where we're at with that, and even if we accept this bid, I mean, obviously, and thank you for answering that, you can't go forward with the demolition before you have the permits or whatever it takes to do that.
Exactly.
But I don't know by approving this with the unknown things, I mean, we're right where we were in July, as far as we know.
Hey, Matt, the way I look on it is that if we don't move forward with it, November 1st comes, the bids no longer are good, and the bids could go up. So if we make a motion tonight to go ahead with it, contingent on the contractor waiting until the state does the paperwork and gives us the okay, then he can go to the contractor and say, you've won the bid, now here is the conditions, and the contractor can say yes or no to that. If we don't do anything tonight, the bids probably will go up.
Is that a fair assessment, Pat?
Yeah, see, you explained it better than I did.
But whatever we do tonight, the bids could go up because the contractor might say, I need a contract by November 1st, and if you can't give me a contract, then that bid isn't good.
Exactly.
I guess it's two things to look at. One, if you don't vote before 1 November, the bid actually expires.
That's right.
In other words, we would have to go through the process again and rebid this project.
Matt, we're giving them, if we vote tonight and it passes, we're giving him or her the bid to do demolition. They will have a contract. It's up to them then to accept it.
I think that would put us in a precarious position, again, like if we award the bid, that means we are awarding it, we're promising to pay, and what if it doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen for a period of time? We might be liable for defaulting on that bid, and we may have to pay money for either not demolishing it at all, or for defaulting and then have another bid that might be higher. I think we need a question. We need an answer, I think, from the contractor first.
Or the bid will expire, and then the
Yes.
same company rebids it, and it's going to cost us $50,000, $60,000 higher because we waited.
And it'll cost us time.
But the contractor may not accept it anyway
So let me just clarify something.
at this price.
Just to clarify something, if you vote tonight to approve the bid, now the bid has been approved, that gives me the ability to negotiate with the contractor on if it's going to go longer. And as long as you tell me that you have two stipulations, one, that it has to have SHPO approval and state approval, if that is your one stipulation, and then the second one is that the price doesn't go up while we're waiting for that, we will not send them the contract in your name and bind you to them until those two stipulations are made. But if you don't accept the bid tonight, as you had pointed out, it expires. And now I can't go and just talk to Rachel Contracting. Now I have to go back and rebid this entire process, which really isn't fair to the low bidder because now everyone knows the price, and now it just becomes a bidding war, or you might not get anybody to vote. It's hard to bid. It's hard to tell.
Well, at this time, I think to have more discussion, I would ask for a motion and a second, and then we can discuss this.
I got one more question.
Yeah, absolutely.
What level of confidence do you have that we could get the okay by November 1? Do you have anything that?
I don't control that part of the process. That's the attorneys in the school district, so that's why I had you on that. If I was in charge of it, I could give that to you, but that's outside of my control. And right now, it's in this. I believe it's sitting in the city of Evelyn's hands. Is that correct?
And the state, yes.
Okay.
So back in July, we talked about demoing this, so it's been since July to almost the 1st of November, and the state hasn't responded at all.
No,
that's not
it's
true.
the opposite. It's the district and the city have not responded, because I have letters and I've had conversations with the office. And we as a district could have moved on this much, much sooner, and we haven't. And as of today, I talked to the office, they still have not received a response from a June 17th letter or something like that. And so
I
think
beg
we're
to differ
rushing
because
this.
I have a copy of that response from the school district. So there was a list of questions that was sent, and this I monitor. So that did get answered, and then there were some more questions, and that got answered. So I don't know. I believe it's the city that is in the position of awarding or not on this right now.
Madam
I have
Chair, I'd
those
like to make a
communications.
motion that we go ahead and approve this contingent upon the state okaying the demolition of it, and also Rachel, the low bid, not changing their pricing.
Is there support?
I would support that.
So there's a motion by Director Reardon, support by Director Yuhan. Any additional discussion?
And technically, I believe, and I think the record shows, that we still have an active purchase offer that has not been either rejected or accepted formally by the school board. And I think that's serious, and that could be a legal matter also.
Any additional discussion?
I'd just like to say, I'm a little disappointed that it seems like in 3 months, we've had no movement on this. And I'm sure people are working on it, but it'd be nice to be able to hear where we are at, not it's in the city's court.
I agree.
I do agree, but yet, I mean, things have been kind of crazy in our world, and people are short-staffed and those kinds of things too. So I'm not surprised things are taking a little longer than what they would normally.
Just to refresh your memory, the initial bid expired, but we anticipated there might be an approval process that takes some time. So we did a bid alternate if that were to happen, which extended it until November. So that, normally these bids wouldn't have lasted this long, but we had asked the contractors to price if it needed to be extended to 1 November. This bidder, Rachel, had a zero cost increase to extend the bid. So to ask them to do it again, I'll definitely do it. We'll talk to them and we'll see, depending on how you vote tonight.
Any additional discussion?
I have communication from the department, the Historic Preservation Department. We have not received a response from the facilities manager since we issued our August 17th, 2021 letter attached. We have not seen an EAW, environmental assessment worksheet either. I think we are going way too.
No, Director Sorka, why didn't you share that? Why didn't you share
was
that
the date
email?
on that?
I mean, you got
October?
this like this secret.
It's no secret, Bill.
Well,
You
I
could
mean-
get the same information,
I know,
but you
but-
don't care to get the information,
That's
but I
unfair
care
and
to.
uncalled for.
Well,
You have information that you're not sharing.
Was it uncalled
it-
for by Bill to make the comment to me? Share the
saying that you have
information.
information
You
that
all
you're
get
not
different
sharing.
information than I do. I just happen to care, and I'm asking questions, and nobody else is
all
asking
care,
questions
We all
in time.
care,
We all
Polly,
care.
and
Okay.
And
Well,
I'd like to be
we're-
a part of a board.
To know the
We're gonna,
answers.
okay, we're gonna end this. I'm gonna call for a vote.
I'd
All
like
those
to be
in-
a part of a board that
Works
is teamwork. I mean.
Why
teamwork
haven't we
and
been
role
given this
modeling.
information? I had to
Just
go
lower
and
your
dig for
tone.
it.
Can you lower your tone,
Well,
Polly?
I need to because otherwise I
I
get
want to be a
passed
part
right
of a
by.
board that has higher standards and role models appropriately to children.
Right.
So in this space right here, we should be respectful to everybody.
I'm 100%, and I think Stacy is the least respectful of anybody. and she's
I will
been for a
not
long
have
time.
your personal attacks, Director Sorkin,
I've had
unacceptable.
personal attacks
And
for
I am
2
going
years.
to call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Absolutely not.
Motion carries 8-1. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Next are reports. Todd Grippentrog on the Nell Sheen and the Evelyn Gilbert Junior High.
Thank you, members of the All right, we're not going to steal Todd's thunder, so Todd, take it away.
Good evening, members of the board, and Dr. Schmidt, and esteemed guests. Just a quick report from Gilbert campus. A lot of things are going on right now. Can you hear me okay? All right. I'll take this down. Thank you. We are currently planning some end of the quarter celebrations at the Gilbert campus. Our staff is eagerly planning to have some celebrations throughout this year as we come to a close in the Gilbert campus this year. So we're excited about all the celebrations and things that will be going on. Coming up in November here, on the 5th of November is the first ever 7th through 9th grade Rock Ridge Fun Night. That's going to be Friday night, a week from this coming Friday, November 5th. There's a dance, open gym, movies, games, and lots of fun activities going on here at Virginia High School from 6 to 9 p.m. This month's theme at the Gilbert campus is going to be respect. We have a tradition that we've started a few years back where students get an opportunity to cut my tie off. So we'll be doing some of that again coming up in the next few weeks. So we're looking forward to continuing our character program as we finish this year in Gilbert. Nelshin conferences will be coming up on November 1st and November 3rd. That's Monday and Wednesday of next week. Teachers are scheduling all of their conferences with their students, and we're super excited to move forward with those conferences. The junior high will have conferences on November 16th. In fact, all students in Rock Ridge, 7th through 12th grade, will have conferences on November 16th. Moving on here, our 5th grade class has recently had a visit to Hawk Ridge in Duluth. They went on October 15th. They actually got to see a releasing of a hawk back into the wild. Our students get to go there each year, and they have a wonderful day, spending all of the day out of doors. Tonight we had a pre-K fall festival in Gilbert, believe it or not, and that was from 5 to 6 p.m. I've been to those in many different times and really enjoyed the fun that the little kids, along with their parents and the teachers, have planning that fall festival. Lots of fun activities for the kids. Picture Day is coming up as well, November 1st. Next Monday, November 1st, will be Picture Day at the Gilbert campus. And I just want to take a second to thank a lot of different people here. Teachers, staff, our students, and our parents. We had an outstanding start of the school year in Gilbert, and we're super excited to bring home the last year on the Gilbert campus. Lots of different things going on. Teachers are working on purging and packing. They're working on PLCs and goal settings. And there's also been lots of parent support this year, so I appreciate that. Couple more items here. Thanks to all of the other principals and leadership in the district. I am so excited each day when I get to meet with all of the leadership in the district, the other principals in the district. I really appreciate their leadership, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. Really appreciate all the work that they do and all the leadership they provide and working with them each day. So thanks to them. And also, I just want to thank you all, board members, for all the hard work that you've been doing, accomplishing. Just going on the tour previous to the meeting tonight, it's super exciting to see how everything is coming together at the Laurentian site specifically, but again, across the district. So I'm looking forward to and very excited about the future for Rock Ridge. So thanks, school board members, and thanks, Dr. Schmidt, for your leadership. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, 6.2 is Dr. Schmidt.
Thank you, members of the school board. First of all, the first topic to talk to you about is what happened with the survey that the city of Gilbert did with the citizens. Now, the only reason I'm here is just to give you an update. I am not representing the city or the residents of Gilbert in any way. This is just updating you what happened with the survey. You have the results of the survey. You can see what happened with the survey. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it. I was there when the survey results were presented to the city council. The city council at that time said that they were going to digest them, think about them, and officially let you know as a board sometime in January as far as what they were thinking, as far as whether they officially were interested in purchasing any of the buildings, the Gilbert campus. When you look at the results from the survey, again, I am not speaking for the Gilbert City Council. You can see that most of the residents of Gilbert, they are not in favor of the city of Gilbert purchasing the buildings and then managing the buildings. Now, and I don't want to go into how, the why for, and the interpretation there. That's not my job here. Just simply to show you the results of the survey. The packet you have is what the residents of Gilbert, what the Gilbert City Council saw. It kind of gives you an idea about maybe what the Gilbert Council will ultimately decide. But I also want to let the board know that I did talk briefly at the meeting, and I did say if the city of Gilbert says no, well, I'm not talking for the school board. I want you to know what I said. That while I'm not talking for the school board, that I was fairly certain that if the city of Gilbert said no, thank you, to the offer to purchase part of the buildings, all of the buildings, that the school board may decide to officially list them on the open market and see if someone else would be interested in purchasing all of the buildings, part of the buildings, and then redeveloping them. Now, obviously, the redeveloper would have to work with the city of Gilbert, but it wouldn't be the city of Gilbert. It'd be whoever the developer was who was purchasing and working with them. So what the city of Gilbert decides to do, that would be up to them, but I just want to let you know what the results of the survey were. Any questions from any of the board members?
I know, Noel, that I had spoke with you into this at the survey was like 98% of the residents of Gilbert opposed having anything to do with that building. If I remember, that was a pretty high number.
It was over 80% said they did not, in
Okay.
one way or the other. Yes, you're right, Bill.
And I made the suggestion, and since I was on this committee representing Gilbert, that at this point, it doesn't sound like the city wants anything to do with that building, and that we should list it right away. Okay, so when the listing time expires, the demolition would be on track for the summer of 2022 or somewhere in that timeline, in the fall, could be August, September, that if no one's interested in that building, then it just comes down. And I wouldn't sell it for $1. It would have to be a pretty substantial price for that to find potential buyers that are really, really interested in that piece of property. You know, so $50,000 wouldn't cut it. I think that'd be a disservice to the city to sell it for $50,000 to somebody who probably would not do nothing with it. So whatever the board decides, if they want to list it and figure out, have it appraised or whatever, and then sell it for that, that would be my suggestion to the board.
I thought I heard that we'd kind of agreed to give them until, the city until a couple more months, we're in January, to let us know officially, or if they did let us know officially earlier, if they're in fact not interested, then I would absolutely support listing it immediately. But if they're of the understanding that we're gonna hold off a couple months to give them, let them digest what we saw, which I was surprised at how strong the survey results were myself, but I think if, it'd just be consider it of the city to give them until January, or if we plan on listing it, if they don't let us know earlier, to let them know and give them a little bit of time to say officially what their position is.
Well, I think the city, the taxpayers don't want anything to do with that building. Taxes are high enough in Gilbert from everything that people I've talked to, and I don't think the city wants to taxpayer-funded building for possible commercial venture. I don't think the city should do that. I think the city should list it and try to manage that, manage who buys it, and, you know, and what's basically what the city of Evelyn would do. That's how I would see it. You know, I mean, if the city says, okay, we got it for sale, we have it for sale, we find a potential buyer, we introduce that buyer to the city of Gilbert to say, you know, just to kind of like not so that we're not leaving the city with a building that's going to be vacant in 5 years, and hence, Matt, you're the authority.
Right,
you're the authority on vacant buildings.
Absolutely, but first the city has to tell us whether they. I mean, and I agree, especially at how strongly the survey came back. But they can. The city of Gilbert can do what they want to do, and I think it's only being courteous to them to let them officially notify us that we aren't interested, or we are interested. And if they are interested, then let's put that agreement together and we don't list it. And they can do whatever they want with it.
Okay.
One of the problems is I don't know how the city of Gilbert can list it when the school district owns it. So I think it's our responsibility to list it. And then now we're speaking of listing it immediately. All along through the whole process, the idea and the promise and the plan was to market it for 2 years after these buildings were vacated. Now all of a sudden, the situation is changing, and I think we need to stick to the original thoughts, agreements. I don't know that marketing something on the MLS is different than marketing it commercially on LoopNet or any other commercial places and forums, and also personally contacting developers. And I don't even know if that was done for the junior high, the old junior high, and that's just, it's water over the dam now. But just because the city of Virginia, or Gilbert doesn't want to take it on as a liability and as an expense does not mean that there's not a use for it, and there might not be a developer out there. So I would not rush into automatically listing it, and stick to our original promise and plan for all of these buildings. 2 years, marketed for 2 years after it's vacated, they're vacated.
I do believe Jeff Carey did contact some of the developers, some of the building developers in Duluth. Am I correct? That bought some of their buildings and they were not interested, right?
Yes, he did. And how do I say this? Realtors are not lining up to have an opportunity to try to market old buildings. So yes, he did contact them. They are not interested.
And that is not an active listing.
So the process going forward, we will bring it to the Facilities Committee, like we always do with issues. Facilities Committee will talk about it, then it will come back to the full board meeting, and just expect this topic to come back to the full board meeting. So my purpose only here is to just update you on the results of the Gilbert survey.
And my understanding is the 2 years was related specifically to the agreement with Evelyn for the properties on the Evelyn campus.
My recollection, it was for every building as they were vacated.
Well, and that's something this Facilities Committee can consider and take into consideration.
And to note that committees only make recommendations, the full board actually should discuss it in depth and make the final decision, even
like we always do.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So Noel, Gilbert asked to give us their final decision in January?
That is what the mayor said to the council and the citizens of Gilbert.
Then what we do is we wait till January and we can discuss whatever comes up at that point. Right now, we're doing a lot of what ifs and who said, and I think we should just move forward and wait for Gilbert to give us their answer.
Okay, but in the meantime, if the answer is no, can we get some realtors lined up to possibly maybe want to take this on? So we're not like...
That's a decision the board will have to vote on.
Well, we can't really do anything until we get official word from them, which They have until January. If they let us know sooner, we can act sooner, but we can't do anything until then.
They will give you an answer in January, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Next thing I want to do is to update you on, I call it district status, but first I want to briefly, this is only an update. I'm not asking you to do anything. You do not need to do anything. I'm just telling you the COVID numbers, what they are, because as you know, I don't want to get into the should we mask, should we not mask thing. I don't want to get into that. Just give you the pure numbers. When the mask mandate went into place and the board voted for that, we had 44 confirmed COVID cases in the district, whether they were student or employees. As of today, there was one addition. We have 8 confirmed COVID cases in the district. The plan that the board approved uses the criteria of the number of COVID cases per 100,000, which was 30 in the plan that the board approved. What is that number now? That number now, the last time it was 118.77 in central St. Louis County. It is now 89.6. So it is dropping. That is consistent with what we're seeing in the health officials are seeing in other parts of the state. Hopefully they believe that we have peaked. We do know that immunizations, it look like, are going to be made available for elementary kids for those parents who want to do that with their kids. And so my purpose here is just give you where the COVID numbers are as of today. You have 8 in the district right now. Any questions on COVID numbers?
So we have 8 now in our district, but we had 44 when the masking mandate was voted on?
Correct.
And refresh my memory, why are we looking at county numbers versus our own district numbers, like other school districts are doing?
That is the number that the COVID team recommended, and that is the number that the board approved in the plan. If the board down the road wishes to do something differently, you certainly have the prerogative to do that. The only thing I would recommend is let's just wait a little bit, and let's just see if the numbers continue going in that direction. The numbers, because we have gone from 44 to 8. You can make your guess as far as why that is occurring. Is it the mask? Is it fluke? I'll let you answer that question.
Well, can you remind the group what the numbers were last year when we went to distant learning?
Oh, geez, Tom, the numbers were, I think we went to distance learning when there were like 30 or 40 per 100,000.
30 was the number.
We were already in
last
distance learning with the numbers we have right now. And the main goal, everybody knows this, we want to keep kids in school as much as possible. But you're right, Tom, last year we were distance learning, the numbers were half what they are now.
So the ratio now is 1/5 of when the masking mandate went in place. 8/44 is 1/5.
Okay, so I just want to give you the COVID numbers. Next thing up, last thing up, don't worry, I'm good. Let's have some fun. I think it's important at this time, you have another one of my horribly done drawings. Yes, teachers are now laughing up in the second balcony. It's the same thing the teachers saw in the opening of the beginning of the school year. There's some important parts. I want you to know what the teachers are seeing, what the teachers are doing, and where things are at. Basically, and you can kind of get a glimpse just listening to the agenda topics. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of moving parts, and I think it's important at this point to talk about, on my little drawing, where we started and where we're going as a district. I think it's really important to go back and talk about where this whole thing started. None of this was here 4 years ago. This board, it was impossible for you folks to be sitting together next to each other, even 5 years ago. It was impossible for you to be sitting here talking about these. And so when this whole thing started, this all started I remember the very first combined school board meeting we had, it was talking about transportation. And then it moved from there. There were 20 combined school board meetings before any consolidation happened. That's unheard of. And you're going to hear me say this because I think you need to hear this. And the teachers up there, I've told them this, and they need to hear this again. There is no other teaching group anywhere in the upper Midwest who is experiencing the rapid change that you are. No one. Your teachers have done an outstanding job. There are no other group of teachers in the upper Midwest that is going through the changes that they are. Right now, no other group. And I think that's important. I'm not making this up. And for those of you who are watching this online, I have said this before, and I'm going to keep saying this again and again. You are in difficult times, but we are going to get through it, and that's what I want to talk about in this little sea of change. That's my metaphor here, because that's where we're going. But we had 20 combined school board meetings, and then we had 40 meetings. I remember Jeff and I were going around, and many of you were at these community meetings. We had 40 community meetings, and you know what we asked the residents? All we asked them was, so, what do you think about Virginia and Evelyn Gilbert doing something together? Is that a good idea? Bad idea? That's really it. And then from those community meetings, we got a sense and we reported back. Citizens said, yes, let's keep talking. And then there were 60 more community meetings. You've blown past 100. Then there were 60 more community meetings where we went around. There were some bunch of committees set up to look at facilities, look at curriculum, to look at all this kind of stuff. And then in addition to that, you secured $96 million from the IRRR. Thank you very much from the kind generosity. That is a huge number. They don't give that money away unless they believe that schools are doing work together that is going to substantially change education on the range. And then you had a public vote in 2 completely different districts. It passed. And these were for cooperative facilities. This wasn't even about consolidation. This was just building cooperative facilities. It passed in 2 completely different districts. Let me put this in perspective for you. This is the single largest bond issue in the state of Minnesota history on a per pupil basis. It happened here. You hear about White Bear Lake passing that $300 and some million. I go talk to them. I say, you guys don't know. You have nothing on the Rock Ridge group up here. On a per pupil basis, this one blew that one out of the water on a per pupil basis. In addition to that, and then you picked the mascots, the colors. That's what hangs a lot of schools up. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, is on the colors, the mascots, and everything else like that. Take a look what happened in just over in North Dakota, Grand Forks. They changed their mascot. They didn't do anything for 5 years. It was such a hot button. They did nothing for 5 years, and then they found one. Well, you put the cart in front of the horse, and your community picked the mascot and the colors and the name. And most people really liked what was done. I never hear anything negative about that. And then you had the consolidation of votes. Again, that had to happen separately in 2 completely different districts. That has not happened in 15 years. What was unique about that was that the community actually voted. It wasn't the school board. Yes, you had to approve it, but the communities actually voted in a public vote, and it passed in both of the school districts. And so you put all this together, and then, oh yeah, let's throw COVID in there, let's throw the mask thing in there, let's make it a little more chaos, and we're going through, on my little diagram here, the sea of change. we are right in the most difficult part of this journey. Because on the right, you've got, I use the metaphor of the tree. That's where we're going. And if you look at the tree roots, that's some of the things we're doing that the teachers are working on. And I'm only going to mention a couple so you and the people listening can hear what's happening in their buildings. We're actually taking a look at what research says actually works. What really works in the classroom. Whole class, because that's where you get the biggest bang for the buck, is what is the teachers, and you need outstanding, excellent teachers to pull this off. Your teachers above you, behind me, they are the single most important people in the school district.
They've left.
Okay, they are still the single most important people in the school district because they are the ones who are going to make all of this work, going through the academies and also going through with the elementary schools. They're the ones who are going to really make this thing work. We're also doing a culture of thinking, so we want people to think, we want kids to think. Visible learning, that's another way so that you're thinking out loud, so people are thinking out loud. Literacy is still important. Writing is still important. All those things are still important. And then, I'm going to say this, and I told the teachers this, but on the far right, you have a lot of people who are watching you. I don't know if the citizens up here understand how important this is, what's going on at state level. You have a lot of people who are watching, a lot of other school boards. You have a lot of superintendents. They're looking going, how in the world did you do this? They can't believe it, what's happened up here. And so there are a lot of people watching you, not just for consolidation, not just because of the cooperative building, but it's the buildings you're building. When people go through these buildings and see how these buildings are designed for the kids with the hands-on, with the, especially on the high school, with the career academy, you're going to get a lot of jealous stares. You're already getting it, just people have just seen the baseball fields. You're having people wondering, holy cow, how did you do that? They haven't even seen the inside of the school yet, and the high school yet. It's coming. You do have a lot of people wondering what's going on. And in the middle part of it, and then I'm going to stop on this, with the sea of change. This is the most difficult part. It's going from where we were to where we're going, because the buildings aren't open, but we're still in the middle of change. This is, I use the metaphor of the sea of change. This is the most difficult part of the journey, because when we start, there's always some folks who don't want to start. And that's my little fire there. I use the pontoon for people going across the sea of change to make it fit the area. There's always some folks who don't want to start. You'll hear them. They'll say, I don't want to do this. Who voted for this? I don't want to do this. They'll wait. They'll just wait. Meanwhile, while the rest of us are going across, at the very end, there's also another person who made it almost all the way to the end. They're almost all the way across the sea of change, and then they've turned around. This is actually kind of normal, that you get almost all the way to the end, and then for whatever reason, you want to go back to the beginning. There's a big pull to go back to the beginning, because that's the known world. Because we haven't quite gotten across to the other shore. And so what we're suggesting with the teachers and the staff is that when you see these people coming back, pick them up. Throw them a life preserver. Grab the people on shore. Take them with us. We need everyone to go with us. But this is tough. This is really hard to do. And as a board, you have so much change going on right now. You have so many moving parts. We're going to get through there. And for everybody who's on camera, we will make it through. All of the issues, we will get them resolved. No, I know it's not going to be perfect to every single person. Yes, I know somebody's not going to like this or they're not going to like this, but we will get through them. And the overall thing with the whole point of this, and I'm going to stop, is we are designing buildings for kids. We're designing education for kids, for the education they are going to need in their lives and in their futures. That's the whole purpose of why we're here. That's the whole purpose of why we're doing this. And so we just need to keep that front and center, that everything we're doing is for the kids and the education they're going to need. We'll get there. I know it's tough. There's a lot of moving parts, but we'll get there. And I just wanted to show the board that so you had an idea about some of the things and concepts that we've talked about with the teachers. Any questions about what I just talked about?
I just wrote down a note while you were talking because, you know, and I'm going to read it because otherwise I'll forget what I was thinking, but, you know, everybody can be watching what we're doing here, but we have to follow through with what we started. We have to ensure that the curriculum engages our students and gives them the exposure. You know, like they were talking earlier about the students building those sheds and doing the dugouts. Thank you. And the best way that we can do that is by listening to our teachers and our staff and providing them with what they need to keep pushing forward, because it is falling on them. And every decision that we make impacts them and their ability to do what they need to do. And that, you know, I appreciate that they've been coming in, you know, in groups to our meetings. I think that's important to remember, is we just have to make sure that we follow through with everything we said we were going to do, particularly with like curriculum and exposure to different careers and things like that. I mean, that's what I got on this board for, and that's what I want to see through. So that was just in my head, so thank you for that moment.
Any other comments or questions for Noel?
So what's with these guys here with crowns on? What's that?
Oh, those are the ones, they've made it to the other shore. That's why I put that little yellow halo thing over there.
They swam, they didn't take that pontoon boat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the one, I have a horrible drawer, but you do get to have a little fun with it every once in a while.
It's great.
Should have fired your art teacher.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have no improvement since the second grade. And I'm going to stay up here because I think that you're going to ask me about the next 3 agenda items.
So agenda item 7.2 is consider approval of MOU for Rock Ridge, Virginia 7th, 8th grade teachers concerning lunch times.
Okay, members of the school board, this is an unusual MOU because it doesn't ask you to do anything. When we were making the schedule this year, having more, this is mostly at the high school level, more kids getting their first choice. What happened inadvertently as a result of that is some teacher lunch periods are outside of what actually is written into the contract. So the teachers would like recognition that they're not asking you to do anything. They're just saying to recognize, yes, we understand this, we're good with it for this year, but try and fix it for next year. So this is what this MOU is. They're just asking you to recognize that this is an issue and they'd like us to fix it for next year, which I believe we can.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the MOU?
I will make the motion to approve the MOU.
Motion by Director Lotiger, support by Director Anderson. Any additional discussion?
I have a question. What is the difference between an MOU and reopening a contract, especially with the teachers? I'm not sure about AFSCME.
Yep, and which is a great question. An MOU is usually an addition or a reaffirmation or a restating of something that's in the contract. When you reopen, it's usually a one small part. When you reopen an entire contract, anything is fair game. And so under this MOU, we're not saying anything is fair game. It's just this one little piece of it.
Okay.
And you can only reopen the contract every 2 years if it was voted upon. You can't reopen it whenever you want. Is
Correct.
that correct? Okay.
There's
thank you.
rules.
And does that not apply to salaries? And this does not affect salaries?
No, this particular MOU does not impact salaries.
Can you tell us how this came about?
About
This MOU, how did it come about in the AFSCME one too? Was there a grievance or was there negotiations or what?
No, we talked early in the year. They came to me and said, this is a problem, we have some issues. We first talked mostly about the high school, the traveling teachers. You just approved an MOU on the traveling high school teachers going back and forth. That'll take care of this. This was a secondary concern. And so this one was, hey, let's just resolve it this way.
So Education Minnesota Rockridge came to you, the superintendent, and recognized this problem and proposed this MOU, or you drafted it together, or what?
We talked about it, and then they suggested an MOU, and this is what they proposed for the MOU, which I believe is reasonable.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not reasonable, I'm just wondering about the process. Did the negotiating committee get involved in this at all?
No, this was not, the negotiations committee was not involved in this one. If you would like to have it go back through the negotiation process, we could do it. It just seems so simple that.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all, but then I realize that we're in mediation with the teachers union
Yep.
too. Does that have any complication, having an MOU now during a mediation?
No, not on this particular one, because you still have two contracts that are in force. So this would apply to the two contracts currently in force.
All right.
Evelyn Gilbert and Virginia.
All right, thanks.
Anything else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Need a motion.
You did. No, Brandy
you did.
and,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Brandy and Anderson.
I'm sorry about that.
Sometimes I forget, sometimes I don't. I'm good
Was a
today.
while
I'm good on this
Sorry
one.
about that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And then, Noel, the next one, 7.3, consider approval of letter of understanding between AFSCME Council 65, Local 3, and ISD 2909 Rockridge Schools regarding compensatory time maximum accrual.
Yes, thank you, members of the school board. This is another relatively simple one. We have a new AFSCME contract. However, we have some situations where occasionally it would be advantageous both for the employee and for the school district if they could let their comp time go higher than 40. Right now, it specifically says 40 in the contract. We think it's not going to hurt the school board or our ability to get things done. There are some advantages that certain individuals may want and may like on this to let their comp time go a little bit higher. So we are suggesting, and they suggested, they're the ones who came to us with the suggestion and said, what do you think about this? And so this came from a request from them. I talked to Mike Hogue. He doesn't see this as being problematic. He thinks this is workable. And so we think this is a reasonable thing to do, and it won't cost the district anything.
But what it seems to say is that they're needing to increase their hours because they're short-staffed. That's my concern.
That, yes, depending who you talk to, yes, you're going to hear that, but you're also going to hear some individuals say, hey, I want to have the ability to take off a bigger chunks of time. There's some reasons why I want to have more total time off and take it at bigger chunks of time. And part of that is that there are certain occasions where, depending what time of year it is, it works and it doesn't harm us. So there's multiple reasons why people
Is this something that we
talking
need to,
about this.
is this something that we need to look at again at, in the personnel committee, buildings and grounds? I mean, do we need
Next
to?
contract, maybe?
Do we need to, I mean, as far as the short staff part?
First of all, on the couple things. One is on this topic, at the very latest, you're going to talk about this when it's time for another contract negotiation round. And then on the custodial thing, that is going to be an agenda topic for the personnel or facilities committee to take a look at that, the custodial staffing.
Do I have a motion?
Well,
I'll move.
Motion by Director Addy, support.
Reardon?
Wouldn't we be
All right,
smart,
discussion.
wouldn't we be smart to table this if we're unsure? Or is there gonna be a sunset provision with this?
Could you say that first part again?
Is this something we're sure of, or will there be a sunset provision in this, anything?
No, this MOU goes normally the length of the contract. So this would not go for eternity.
It says through 2023 at the end of the contract.
Well, it looks like it doesn't really change anything. It just changes the number of hours allowed for comp time from 40 to 80. It's already in the contract.
40 is already in the contract. Yes. So they're asking for it to go to 80 for the terms of the current contract. Most MOUs expire when the contract is over, or there's a specific expiration date in the MOU.
Well, you're gonna hear my argument that in June of this year, when we close the Roosevelt, who's going to do removal of all of that furniture and do all of that? Because we know it's gonna be a rush to get it done so they can do the demo. Right now, most of the staff in Virginia takes the entire month of June off. There's no one here.
And that's why a lot of it, we want it moved before school is over. And also keep in mind that we also have the Gilbert campus is closing, and so there's no need to clean the Gilbert building. So there also will be some custodians elsewhere in the district who we believe we can move over and help out doing certain things. But you're right, I'm not going to glorify anything. This is going to be a tough move. We have some tough moves coming up because you have Gilbert moving, you have the Laurentian Elementary opening, then you have Roosevelt moving. It's going to be there's some tough moves coming.
Is there any other discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Agenda item 7.4, consider approval of the resolution dissolving the Education Innovation Partners Cooperative Center ISD number 6091-50.
So moved, Reardon.
Support.
Any discussion?
Noel, how much yearly have we paid the EIP?
I believe, I'm going from memory now, it's been, I think Virginia has been about $7,500 a year. I assume Evelyn Gilbert has been similar dollar amount. It's not been a huge dollar figure amount per year.
I've seen it on our consolidated payment bills. So now together, it's only 7,500? It goes by student count, doesn't it?
Correct.
Okay, and can you tell us why this is being proposed to dissolve?
Yes, this is an organization who has served its time. The superintendents believe that we're ready for a new format. People believe it's not as effective as what it could have been, should have been, for whatever reason. And so, but it's a legal entity that both the Evelyn Gilbert and Virginia schools helped create, so you have to uncreate it. That would be the purpose of this resolution. There's very little support among any superintendents or educators to continue EIP.
Well, I agree, and I don't know what we've even gotten for our membership over some years, over a lot of years. As I remember, it was instituted to do teleconferencing, and there was very little of that going on. And from that point on, I don't know any benefit that we've had for that money. And it's a regional organization, and maybe that's one of the problems too.
And that was the answer that a lot of people came up with. What have we gotten bang for our buck? Which is why you have this resolution to dissolve in front of you.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Director Reardon?
Yes.
Director Yuhan?
Yes.
Director Lotiger?
Yes.
Director Tamero?
Yes.
Director Anderson?
Yes.
Director Schoberg?
Yes.
Director Sorkin?
Yes.
Director Addy?
Yes.
And Director Sundquist is a yes. Motion passes unanimously. 7.5 is consider approval of naming rights agreement between Rock Ridge and Seppi Brothers Concrete Products. And Mr. Speltz.
You gotta put that guy first.
Very kind of you to
Yeah.
sit and wait until the very last thing.
Yeah.
Especially when we know you like a crowd.
And the crowd is dwindling.
You got one, Willie. Oh, two.
You probably don't want me to go into my South Pacific or Oliver that I did on this stage in high school, so it's probably good there isn't a crowd, because I might do that. I present that to you as it is in front of you. If anybody has any questions, we have a great opportunity here to partner with SEPI, and they've been such incredible supporters over 60, 70 years in both districts, and I think it's going to be absolutely wonderful. I hope you can approve it tonight.
Do we have-
motion.
Oh,
And I will
okay.
support.
Motion by Director Yuhan, support by Director Lotiger. Any additional discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Wow, you guys are awesome. That was efficient. I would like 10 seconds
You've got
to
it.
do two things. It might be a little longer than that. Thank you.
We knew that.
To the SEPI family. Thank you to them incredibly. What a wonderful donation and partnership this is going to be, and I look forward to even telling you more of the story with SEPI and all of the softball history. But I did want to talk a little bit about something you guys, I promise I'll go quick. You guys talked about the student builds and the students coming on campus. And in my new role, I'm doing a lot of that already. And I have nice feedback from James Eichholtz's class when the welding class came up to do a walkthrough and be with Kraus Anderson and all kinds of people. And here's some of the things that the kids said. The tour at the new school was, ... The tour from a student, Noah. The tour of the new school was very interesting to me because I have never been on a large construction site, so it was cool to see all of the different work being done at once. From Landon. Really cool because we got to see all of the trades going hard at work. It was also super cool that we got to see everyone in action. I liked the wood accents everywhere. I liked how big it was, and I liked all the new fields. You know, what did you learn on the field trip? During the field trip, I learned how many different trades are required on the large construction site and the different lines of work are needed. I also learned how easy it is to get lost in the new school. What do you like about the new school? Based on what I could depict from the school, I really liked how open it was for planning to be, or is planning to be when finished. There's just so many great comments from these kids, and I appreciated James and these kids taking the time to do this survey. You know, I learned that not all people are hands-on workers. Some are paper workers and sit in an office and tell people what to do and approve the newer workers' work. I saw all the trades that are working on the building in the new school and had an opportunity to talk to people from those trades and to see what they do. Interesting, I for one thought the school wouldn't be that nice, but in fact I was wrong. I liked how modern and up-to-date the new school was compared to our current school. These are from Logan and from Joey. I mean, these are great responses, so I just wanted to share that with you. I know that came up tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Willie.
All right, meeting announcements. Our next regular board meeting will be here on November 8th at 6 p.m. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Support?
Support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you, everybody.